The dusty town of Red Hollow always carried the stink of desperation. Gold had dried up, cattle drives moved farther west, and men, hard, scarred, and lonely, filled the saloon each night with whiskey and silent longing. The sign hanging crookedly above the weathered barn read, "Unclaimed Brides." That was where the town's ugliest business took place. $3. That was the price set by the crooked sheriff and the so-called marriage broker who supplied wives to men with enough coin to pay. Women came from orphanages, debtors' prisons, or were simply abandoned on the trail. They were lined up, catalogued, and bid on like cattle. Once purchased, no law in the territory could take them back. On that sweltering evening, every eye in Red Hollow turned when Sheriff Madsen dragged a pale young woman onto the stage. She wore a threadbare beige dress, her knuckles white from clutching the fabric at her knees. Her bonnet hung loose, showing wisps of hair clinging to her damp forehead. Her lips trembled, but she held herself upright, though her eyes darted across the crowd like a rabbit cornered by wolves. "Virgin bride," Madsen barked to the men gathered. "Unclaimed. Startin' bid, $3. The crowd shifted, coins clinking, voices low with hunger. The men had seen too many women sold and broken, most cared little beyond their own lust or need for a housekeeper. But in the back, leaning against a post with a shadow over his face, sat a man known as Jonas Hale. Jonas was no stranger to violence. Rumors said he had ridden with raiders during the war, that his hands had burned towns and carried the screams of the dying. But since drifting into Red Hollow, he had kept mostly to himself, taking work breaking horses or chopping wood for the blacksmith. Men respected him, feared him more, perhaps, but none could claim to know him. When the bidding began, Jonas spoke only once. $3, he said flatly. The barn fell silent. Other men glanced at each other, weighing whether to challenge him. None did. His voice carried a weight that was heavier than gold. Sheriff Madsen grinned, slammed his palm down, and declared, "Sold. To Mr. Hale." The girl's eyes widened with horror. Her body jerked as if a rope had been tightened around her throat. She screamed, high, raw, unfiltered terror, as Jonas stepped forward. He caught her arm when she tried to wrench away, but he did not drag her. Instead, he guided her down from the stage with surprising gentleness, while the men hooted and shouted crude blessings. Then, in front of them all, Jonas did something no one expected. He dropped to one knee before her. The barn went deathly quiet. The girl froze, her scream cutting off into a choked sob. Jonas did not reach for her body, nor did he pull her against him. He simply looked up into her terrified face, and in a low voice that only she could hear, he said, "You ain't property to me. You ain't no bride by force. I bought your freedom, not your body." The crowd erupted with confusion and mocking laughter. "What's this, Hale?" someone jeered. "She's yours, take her," another shouted. But Jonas ignored them all. His eyes never left hers. The girl, her name was Clara, though few cared to ask, stared at him, unable to believe. She had been traded between men like sacks of flour since her father's death, and she expected nothing but another cage. Yet this man, feared by all, was kneeling before her like a knight from a story she once heard as a child. "You're free to walk out that door," Jonas said, nodding toward the barn's entrance. "Or you can come with me. Choice is yours. I'll not raise a hand to you." Clara trembled, torn between instinct and hope. She glanced at the men around them, faces twisted with anger, their lust denied. Sheriff Madsen's eyes narrowed, he did not like his rules being broken. "She ain't walkin' out without a man's claim," Madsen snarled. "That's the law here." Jonas rose slowly, squaring himself to the sheriff. His voice was calm, but iron lay beneath it. "Then reckon I'm the man claimin' her. But make it clear, she's claimed as free. Anyone puts a hand on her answers to me." A tense silence followed. The crowd shifted uneasily, remembering stories of what Jonas Hale had done with just a rifle and his bare hands in darker times. Madsen spat into the dirt but said nothing more. Jonas led Clara out of the barn, through the gawking crowd, and into the cool night. She walked stiffly beside him, still clutching her dress, unable to trust what had just happened. Over the next weeks, Clara stayed in the small cabin Jonas had built by the river. He gave her space, never entering her room without knocking, never speaking harshly, and never demanding her service. He cooked his own meals, chopped wood, and left coins on the table for her to buy what she wanted from the general store. At first, Clara waited for the moment the mask would drop. She expected anger, drunkenness, or violence. But none came. Jonas spoke little, though she often caught him staring at the mountains with a look of deep sorrow. One evening, she asked him why he bought her. His jaw tightened. "I've done things I can't undo," he said. "Things that haunt me. I figured maybe saving one's soul might balance the scales a bit. Maybe not. But it's something, dot." Clara felt tears sting her eyes. She had hated him at first, cursed him in her heart for owning her. Yet, piece by piece, she saw a man who carried his sins like chains and sought no reward for his mercy. Word spread in Red Hollow about Jonas Hale and the bride who never screamed again. Men mocked him at first, then grew wary when they realized he meant what he said, that she was untouchable under his protection. Some whispered that maybe he'd gone soft, but others remembered the cold fire in his eyes when he warned them off. Clara's fear slowly turned to trust. Trust became gratitude. And gratitude, one quiet spring morning as she watched him repair the fence, became something deeper. For the first time since she was a girl, she felt not like property, but like a person. And though Jonas never asked for her heart, Clara gave it freely, because he had been the only man who never tried to take it.